My name is Tancredi Biondi Santi, and I represent the seventh generation of the Biondi Santi family. And I am a co-winemaker at the winery and brand ambassador from the winery.
I'm Brahm Callahan. I'm a master sommelier, and I'm the beverage director for Himmel Hospitality Group in Boston, Massachusetts. So you were talking about the difference between the Annata and the reserva, certainly in winemaking, but beyond that, in the vineyards, you're talking vine age, essentially?
Yes, exactly. So basically, we have everything planted in the 26 hectares of the property. Everything is planted under Sangiovese Grosso BBS 11 clone, and we use the age of the vineyards to produce our three wines. So since 5 to 10 years old of the age of the vineyard, we produce Rosso di Montalcino. From 10 to 25 years, we produce Brunello Annata, and only over 25 years, and of course only in exceptional years, we produce Brunello Reserva.
And what are the oldest vines on the estate? Because obviously you guys have been around for a long time.
Yeah, and we still have one little plot from 1936. Actually, the plot is planted still on Alberello system rather than on Cordone Speronato, so it's very unique.
Ancient, yeah.
Yeah. Quite an old system. There are still olive oil trees in the middle of the vineyard, and I mean it's a quite unique plot at the vineyard.
And is that where the selection for BBS 11 came from?
No, that was previous. Previous, yes. So basically, the selection of the BBS 11 has been done by Jacopo Biondi and his son Ferruccio Biondi Santi, and of course to deal with the Phylloxera. And it has been done a clone selection study in the winery, reaching which was the best plant reacting better on American roots. So.
Right, so you had to replant in the 1880s, 1890s?
Yes, around that time, yeah.
And you were using a Massal selection at that point and then found the best clones that you worked
with? Exactly. This is why BBS 11 clone, because 11 was the number of the plant better reacting on the muscle clone selection. Okay. And BBS means Brunello Biondi Santi.
Yeah, because you're famous for the Biondi Santi clone, right?
Yes.
Exactly. The kind of most heralded Sangiovese Grosso clone.
Yes, exactly. And that clone has basically been studied in our soils. So this is a very important thing. It's not a clone that will give the same results in different soils, in different microzonas. It's basically a clone that has been studied specifically for our goal, which was the wine produced like this, and of course for our soils.
Right, and the estate has essentially been the same size for
Yes and no. It has changed a little bit during the division, generation through generation, and then it has changed a little bit the shape, and now I think we are at a very spectacular point where basically the vineyards are divided in 4 main plots, and still the main one is around the winery, around Greppo, and facing southeast. Then we have northeast plot, north plot, and west plot. So we really cover the whole area of the Montalcino Hill.
And I think the key for you too, because I always think of the BBS clone as being incredibly aromatic and lifted, but elevation plays a role with you guys as well. So, and I think that's one of the reasons that makes Biondi Santi so unique is not just exposure, because southeast exposure is elsewhere in the zone, but it's the key of elevation and you being in the northern part of the zone to show more. Yeah,
absolutely. Elevation is crucial for us, even because Montalcino Hill is divided in 2 main soils. On top of the hill of Montalcino, you find Galestro soil, which comes from the erosion of the mother rock. So it is very poor in nutrients, but very rich in minerals. And this is what gives the minerality, what gives the structure to our Sangiovese Grosso BBS 11 to produce our wines. Then the lowest part of Montalcino, there is a clay, which gives a completely different result.
Yeah, much heavier wines, for sure.
Yeah, really depends from the vintage as well, but it gives a different result from to the wine.
Yeah, and the thing that always bends my mind about Biondi Santi specifically is how the wines evolve. It seems like when they come out of the gate, they're approachable, but they then seem to just not move. And obviously, you guys are very well known for having wines that will outlive the collector, right? Yeah. Sometimes, but how do you see that progression move through in the wines?
So the regular Brunello is the wine that we really want the consumer to be familiar with. We really want the consumer to use it in the first years of life, of course. Reserva is the heart of the Brunello Biondi Santi. It is where we put all our effort year by year, even if not every year is able to become a Reserva. So this is the main rule. And my father is always going to taste the wines when they are, with myself as well, when they are, as soon as they reach the cellar, so during the fermentations, right after the fermentations, and then in the barrels for the 3 years of barrel. And we strictly analyze the evolution of the wine, and we want to make sure that what we are going to bottle is it going to be the Reserva and the perfect Reserva, basically.
You know, you guys were the first ones to really create not just Brunello, but also you were the first Reserva too, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I think that gets missed often, that the idea of you can make excellent wine, but then you can also make wine that stands within the vintage is a really important thing.
Absolutely.
Right? Not, and that you won't make every year. And you know, that was 1890 something. What was the first Reserva for you?
Actually, the first Brunello bottle.
1865.
1865,
right? Yeah, okay,
yes.
okay.
And it has been named Brunello on parentheses because it wasn't existing the
Yeah,
word
yeah.
Brunello at the time. But yeah, the first vintage that we still have in the cellar, it's 1888 Reserva.
And I mean, so 130 years ago,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
So where does Biondi Santi go from here? Because you already are performing at such a high level. What is the next thing that will move you forward?
For sure, one of the main issues will be climate change. And so for us, there is never a moment where we will say, okay, we are arrived. There is always like a world to discover. There is always something to study. There is always something to dig deep on that argument, and knowing what is gonna give us, basically. And so for us, it is a never-ending study, basically. So nowadays, for example, we are studying the tracking of each plot of the winery with drones,
Mm-hmm.
to give a name and a surname to each plant,
Yeah.
reaching where to treat, basically,
Yeah.
and how, when illnesses are gonna attack the plants. So being sustainable by this acting like this way, and we are investing a lot on this. We're investing a lot on pruning the plants during in January, basically. So how we are doing it to cure the plant and keep it as much as alive as possible.
As possible. Yeah.
We are studying the climate change, of course, and we're facing it.
Right.
So
And that's a real struggle, because you're talking about, it's not like you can go make this wine somewhere else.
absolutely.
You have a sense
Absolutely.
of place. You have your estate, and you now need to figure out how you can be true to Biondi Santi, even as the environment changes around you.
Yes,
Right.
that's exactly. These wines reflects the territory and the microzonas where they are produced and where they come from. They are not covered by any other perfume. They are not built in the cellar. These wines are produced 99% in the fields. This is our main goal and our main thought about these wines. Cellar is a stocking process where we transform grape into wine, into this beautiful liquid that is going to be Brunello di Montalcino. But this is the process that we want to maintain like this, and it will always be the same.
Well, Tancredi, thank you so much for taking the time to talk about these wines. You know, it's wonderful hearing your story and their story and how they fit in the perspective of not just Brunello, but world-class wine. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time and for the patience that you give always to these wines. They need patient people. They need time, as we know. But I mean, it's always a pleasure to see our babies coming out from the cellar and being appreciated all over the world. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.